Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to be discussing changes to the Rogue roster for the Dazzrin tournament coming up, as well as a recap for Fusion Day 3 European Tournament. If you guys haven't been paying attention to some of the community tournaments that are going on, highly recommend going and checking out my video that should be linked up here regarding all the community tournaments that are be coming over the next month and a half. And one of those that is probably going to be coming up the most recent here is going to be Dazzrin's version, which is going to be called Codename COVERT. In this tournament, he has Affinity, Cloud9, United, G2, Energy, Pittsburgh Knights, Rogue, Space Station, Susquehanna Sonics, and Team Envy all invited. But the difference with this one is that, as people were looking, Rogue has signed up with CorruptedG instead of Turinturo. There's been a lot of speculation about what this means or what's going on, but I decided why not go straight to the source. Since getting the boot from Chaos, CorruptedG has yet to find a team and was very lucky that the opportunity from Rogue ended up presenting itself. Turinturo is actually going to be on vacation and will not be able to compete during this off-season time, so Rogue ended up reaching out to CorruptedG and asking him if he wanted to play. This is a great way for him to show that opportunity to other teams that he is still a viable asset. Seems a little weird that they're using CorruptedG instead of Garen, their sub, but to each their own. Obviously, a veteran experience from CorruptedG should provide some efforts. It's also an interesting way to try a different dynamic and a different play style to make sure things are going to be all finalized before they lock in place with the current roster with Kronovi, Turinturo, and First Killer. Someone like CorruptedG, who's normally been more passive as a third and usually plays that janitor role. Maybe they want to see what it's like if Kronovi is able to move up on offense full time, and if they want to dedicate to Turinturo final. Just trying to figure out the reasoning behind all this. Not exactly agreeing with it, considering they do have their sub Garen, but to each their own, so we'll see what ends up happening. They still have yet to announce a coach. Maybe something's going on there, but who knows? Right now it's all speculation. As soon as more public information has been made, you better believe that I will be on top of it, and I will make sure to inform you guys to the earliest of my capabilities. Over to day 3 for the European Fusion Tournament. We ended up having Oxygen versus Stormtroopers face off in the 3v3 as the first match of the day, and boy was it a really strong start to Oxygen. The team overall, as we are seeing more and more hints of what they're going to look like with Astral, looks more composed and less forced. It feels like there's more of a fluidity to the team in the way that they perform, based upon the way they transition from offense to defense or defense to offense, as well as the impact and the involvement that's being had. I can't really say the last time I saw Shawzet go for this many dribbles or had this space to go for this many dribbles, but it's pretty reminiscent to Beyond the Summit when he almost 1v3'd NRG. You see Farah getting way more involved on offense and putting shots away significantly more. It just feels like he as a player is just way more comfortable with what the positioning and where he's supposed to be involved in. Farah looks so much more involved on offense between pass plays coming across from Shawzet or just putting away shots. But his impact is being shown in more than just a support role. He's being rather active on offense. And it's actually really exciting to see. It's something that I think is part of the reason why they've been able to be successful in the past is when Farah moves up onto offense and he's able to get involved and we see a consistent 3-man rotation, they're dangerous from all sides. But that has been missing for so long. We always needed an additional threat. And I feel now with Astral in the play, there's less focus on that, which allows Farah to be more successful as well. Not only on the side of Farah being more involved, but it's also with Astral still doing what he does best. He's still able to create opportunities with solo plays, even though he was missing quite a bit towards the end of the series. But his capabilities of being able to move the ball from his half of the field and then still pass it across field to someone else with a pass or a drop down, even with the capability of being a little bit more patient. And I think that's the thing I noticed the most out of Astral, is it didn't feel like he was cutting off people or trying to be the one to do everything. There was a lot of times where it was between him and another player, and he was actually the one to initially back off and allow that trust in Shawzet, which allowed him to then get in a better position to apply pressure to force something else. So there's a lot of interesting things of how Oxygen is developing, and a lot of these things are leading to stuff I'm pretty happy about. Overall, the series did end 4-1 in favor of Oxygen, with one game going to OT being the very last one, which they almost threw away considering Astral missed 2 opportunities for goals, but it was eventually cleaned up by Shawzet. So either way, continuous pressure, eventually getting the wins, and they look pretty well. On the side of Stormtroopers, put up a pretty good fight. A little bit slow in games 1 and 2, but as they started to figure it out, and I know a lot of these games swing like a 4-0 favor for Oxygen, Stormtroopers did pretty well. With Stormtroopers' performance, this could be a team that does some damage as we move on in the future. Obviously, European qualifiers ended up doing okay, not exactly qualifying, but still towards the top. But as they get more and more practice underway, I mean, you see what they're capable of in the close qualifiers here for Fusion. So now that they're in the main event, they're trying to make a name for themselves, but could be a team that has a really good push into the rival series come Season 10. With that, Oxygen does progress and move on. They will be playing against Dignitas or Sandrock Gaming in the semifinals. Jumping over to the 2v2, we got Tree of a Kind versus Dignitas, and this one was quite a battle. Initially, I thought it was going to be yours and Yukio, but it ended up being Violent Panda that stepped in, and I'm really glad he did. People see Violent Panda more as a support player, one who's there to provide communication to his teammates. He's there to provide information to help them make decisions, and usually he suffers a little bit, but because in a 2's playstyle there's less of that, you get to see what makes Violent Panda one of the greats. His capability to go up and make aggressive plays and create like a fake musty flick, or even a musty flick that he got over the defense, shows that he is fully capable of playing at a very high level mechanically or positionally. That was further exemplified by yours, who is also another really high mechanical player. But Tree of a Kind did a really good job of adjusting to that. Despite it being a back and forth series, a lot of the control was actually done by Matane and Ixo. They dominated a majority of these games in the series, and is part of the reason why they ended up making it all the way to Game 7. But in the end, it was similar fashion to where, even though it's a back and forth game after game, we only had one overtime, but you're talking, it started off 5-0 one way and then 5-0 the other way, so that neutralizes. And then it goes 4-7 in favor of Dignitas. Then we get an OT, another 2-goal game differential, another 1-goal game differential, and then the last game kind of bursts open in favor of Dignitas. But overall, you could see the series being dominated by both sides at any given time, to where things would start to slip away, and then the nonstop pressure from Matane and Ixo would show up, and then you saw individual plays from Dignitas, and it just seems like veteran experience again shows in this, despite Matane and Ixo being around in the scene for a very long time. Part of the other reason why I enjoyed the fact they played with Violent Panda is I think this is a chance for Violent Panda to group Yora's. Yora's obviously a very young player, extremely talented, and has the makes to be kind of like an Astral, where Astral came in and he wasn't as confident as he is now. And a part of that was due to inexperience, and the other part was due to just the mentality that we see him struggle with today. And I think Violent Panda has the capability to do the same thing here with Yora's, where, especially in a 2v2 where it's less detrimental to the 3v3 kind of experience of the pro scene, he has the ability to kind of groom and work on a one-on-one with his player in a competitive setting that means more than just your typical tournament. He has the ability to kind of take this guy under his wing and basically mentor him in a way to show, like, yes, these games are going to be close. Europe has really been doing a good job of making these matches entertaining. I know my watch party was really enjoying it as we got to watch this kind of unfold despite all the chaos that was going on, but again, Dignitas moves on. They will play in the semifinals the winner of Vitality or Solary. So the match we were all looking forward to was Fairy Peak versus Scrub Killer. It was going to be super exciting seeing him play his old team. And then Fairy Peak had to go and do him dirty and sweep the series. Fairy Peak's ones get me more and more excited about what is going to happen as this bracket progresses. And I totally understand as to why Johnny Boy, when he did the seeding, put Ocalid and Fairy Peak on the opposite ends of the bracket. Fairy Peak is yet another player who, despite having all the mechanics and all the flashiness and the capability to do literally whatever he wants, he still chooses to play and focus on the basics and really show how talented he is with the fundamentals. And I think that's what makes him so good. He doesn't have to rely on the showy and the flashy stuff that we see in North America a lot. He's able to still dominate the field with the basics, the things that he has grinded into his gameplay year after year after year. And because of that, when he needs to bust in those extra things or needs to mix it up, he's still capable of it, and it catches people off guard. A lot of the shots and a lot of things he does are similar to Ocalid. Very grounded, power shots, creating space and opportunities with fake challenges, and just reading the opponent. Like, this entire series, he just had Scrub Killer red. Scrub Killer lost in game 1, immediately comes back with the Batmobile and keeps it a little bit closer, but Fairy Peak ends up winning that one and the next one anyway. And then they go to game 4, he switches back to the Batmobile. We got some weirdness with Nolly possibly stepping in. Nolly said he was going to play, but then he didn't, and then he encouraged Scrub, and just a bunch of weirdness that people didn't know what the heck was going on. But overall, Scrub went back to the Octane, and ended up losing again due to... he threw the game. Scrub came in super aggressive on a challenge. Fairy Peak literally just sat behind the ball and jumped behind it. And Scrub backflipped on a challenge and off to the races for the win. So, yeah, it just feels like Fairy Peak, when he gets used to a player, he reads you really well and he understands your tendencies. And I think that's partially due to the opponent. of Scrub, a player he's played against for so many times in ranked as well as in other tournaments. But I'm curious to see on how this plays out against Ocalid, assuming both these guys are going to find themselves in the finals. Fairy Peak is moving on to go play against apparently Jack from Stormtroopers, which is really exciting based upon what apparently Jack has shown against yours. But overall, that should be a very, very big match that I'm looking forward to. There's a lot of things that in this match show why Fairy Peak is very talented as a player and why Scrub still is one of those players that people need to respect. His capability to challenge and apply aggression and just shows like his intent to the ball is why he actually fit with Vitality so well in the threes style of just that constant urgency and that constant creation of pressure that they have up on offense. As for the schedule for tomorrow, it's going to be Dignitas versus Sandrock Gaming in the 3v3, which should start about 3 p.m. EST. Following that will be Vitality versus Solary, or K-Dop and Alpha versus Exotic in Meloshisu. I can never say that dude's name. And then the last match of the day is going to be Oxygen versus Tree of a Kind in a rematch of round 2 from the closed qualifiers, which is Astral versus Ixo. Short and sweet on the content, and as always, if you guys enjoy the content, make sure you give it a thumbs up as it helps me out greatly. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on a single daily video regarding Rocket League news, whether it be esports or non-esports related. Before I end the video, I do have to address some concerns. There's been a lot of people talking about Cherry Z and his content, how they're similar, and how people think I'm stealing ideas. Ironically, Cherry Z actually reached out to me before he started making his videos, asking if it was okay to make similar content to mine, which is totally fine. There's going to be numerous times in any demographic where people make similar things, and people are going to have preferences based on what they do and don't. I personally feel like my content is a lot more concise, it's a lot more descriptive, and it provides insight being a former caster and commentator that worked on the scene as a professional analyst in the game. I feel I provide a unique insight and a unique breakdown to the matches that you cannot get anywhere else. I also have connections with a lot of the pros, the casters, the people behind the scenes. Because I've worked in the esports industry for 4 years, I've been able to build these relationships, and they are willing to share this information with me so I can provide that insight to you guys. If people want something else, they can go somewhere else. But again, I appreciate you guys being here for this content, for what it's being provided, and I will do my best to continue to make the best content possible. With that said, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will catch you guys all next time. Peace.